Thus, he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity and became free from material affection. Undisturbed, equal to everyone, and without duality, he could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean unagitated by waves. So, in this verse, now we are discussing step-by-step realization of Kardama Muni. Like in previous verses we saw, he accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take shelter of Him exclusively. Without association, he travelled over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter. Then further, step by step, how he progressed in his devotional service. He fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahman, who is beyond the cause and effect, who manifests the three modes of material nature, who is beyond those three modes and who is perceived only through unfailing devotional service. And now, next step. Thus he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity. And now Prabhupada is explaining in the purport. When one's mind is in full Krishna consciousness and one fully engages in rendering devotional service to the Lord, he becomes just like an ocean, unagitated by waves. And that's the analogy given here for Kardama Muni also. And same thing is explained even in Bhagavad Gita also. That mind becomes unagitated like an ocean. So, very, very popular verse, very famous verse, well-known verse from 2nd chapter it is. In 8th chapter, Lord Krishna explains, this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So it's a house of misery. Okay. Dukkha alayam. Alayam means house. So it's a house full of misery. Right? Different kinds of miseries are there, and one can never expect happiness. And even if some happiness is there, it is ashashvatam, temporary. But that does not mean one becomes very pessimistic about this material existence. Oh, there's nothing in this material existence. No. Lord Krishna also reveals the secret of being happy in this material existence, dukkhalayam. Even one who goes to spiritual abode, transcendental abode, Golokadham, Vaikuntha, he is eternally happy. But even while living in this material world, how one can be happy, that is explained by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And one of those verses is this verse. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudra apa pravishanti yadvat. Right? Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. Achala means undisturbed, unagitated. So in the ocean, many Prabhupada says here, thousands of rivers all over the world. Ocean is one. Right? But in different continents, different countries, there are different rivers which ultimately flow to the same ocean. Right? We have named ocean zone-wise, but the ocean body is one. Right? So many rivers, thousands of rivers are flowing into the ocean, pouring water into the ocean. There is input of water, and by evaporation through sun, there is extraction of water. Ocean remains the same, undisturbed. So why this analogy is given in Bhagavad Gita? Tadvad kama yam pravishanti sarve sa shantim avapnoti na kama kami. Ocean is always stable even though thousands of rivers are flowing into it. It doesn't become disturbed, it doesn't cross its limit, it doesn't become agitated. Same way, when somebody is steady in his intelligence, sthit pragya, so many thoughts will come in the mind, he will remain undisturbed. Such a person attains peace. Right? Sa shantim avapnoti. Now what happens? Generally in this material world, in the material interaction, people think, I have got a desire. If my desire gets fulfilled, then I'll be happy. Krishna says, Sa shantim avapnoti na avapnoti. Sa shantim avapnoti. One who is unagitated by desires is peaceful. One who tries to fulfill these desires, na kama kami. Kama kami means fulfiller of desires. So people generally in this material world, they have this idea. If I have got desire, if you fulfill that desire, you will be happy. So whole material propaganda is about how to fulfill that desire. So people innovate different techniques, different methodologies, different, whether scientific inventions, whether motivational talks, any kind of promotion of materialistic things, materialistic ideas, all are directed towards kami, satisfaction of those material desires. And people think, once my this desire is fulfilled, I'll be peaceful, then I can focus on my work. So now Krishna is cautioning in Bhagavad Gita. Happiness does not come by fulfilling material desires. It comes by remaining unagitated by material desires. So we think in our devotional life also we think, if I get this, I'll be happy, then I can focus on my service. If I get that, then I'll be happy, then I can focus on my devotional service. Just once I get this, once I attain this, either it's people, it's material objects, it's material situations. If I get into this situation, then I'll be happy. Right? If I get this kind of object for my service, I'll be happy. If I get this kind of person, I'll be happy. Like that we have material calculation. That if I get my desired thing, desired person, desired situation, desired work, I'll be happy. But Lord Krishna says that is not the way to happiness. Right? That is not the way to happiness. So real happiness is how? Real happiness comes in connection with the Supreme Lord, not by fulfilling one's own desire. Now somebody can say, this we are desiring in service of Krishna. So what is wrong in desiring for Krishna's service? If I am desiring some facility, desiring some, any kind of arrangement for Krishna's service, what is wrong? So, point is, desiring anything for Krishna's service is always good, is correct. Getting attached to that desire and not to the service, that is wrong. So we get attached to, I want this, then only service will happen. Right? That is the misconception or misidea that we have. That unless I get this, I cannot do service properly, or unless I get this, I'll not be happy, it will not be convenient, it will not be feasible. No. Our idea of service is, in present situation, whatever best I can do for Krishna, that I will do. This is the idea of service. So, when our orientation changes from service to facility for service, then we become disturbed. Then we are getting attached to the desire, not to the service. Right? So, in this way, Lord Krishna is telling here in second chapter that there will be desires, and getting attached to that desire. Unless the desire gets fulfilled, I will not be satisfied. This is the problem. Now, what is the problem in this? What's wrong if desire gets fulfilled and we enjoy a little? The moment one desire gets fulfilled, another generates. And very nice example is given in third chapter. When a desire is fulfilled, it's like pouring fuel in the fire. Right? Like pouring petrol in fire. So, now I'm feeling satisfied. It will blaze the desire more. Next time desire will be stronger. Next time desire will be further stronger. Every time our mind gets satisfaction of desire fulfillment. Oh, now my desire got fulfilled, now I'm happy, I'm satisfied, I'm very happy now. The moment mind gets satisfaction of fulfilling one material desire, it will immediately generate another material desire, and that will be stronger than the previous one. This is what third chapter says. In this way, every time whatever we want, we get. Right? We are getting attached to fulfilling the desires of the mind. And there will be a situation where Krishna will put us in test. Now let us see. If we don't fulfill his desires, how he reacts, how he behaves. Then immediately that agitation comes out. oh, I don't trust the authority system, I don't trust the management, they don't do what I want, I like what I require, they don't oblige to my demands. In this way, we feel dissatisfied. Right? So, now we think my satisfaction will be how my satisfaction will come? When the system fulfills my desires. But the orientation of devotional service is such, my satisfaction should come when I fulfill the authority's desires, not when they fulfill my desires. This whole orientation gets changed because of material attachment, Rajogan. So Rajogan is so dangerous, so dangerous. So that's why Lord said. So even in devotional service, one is dissatisfied. Why one is dissatisfied? For this reason alone, one is dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction comes when Rajoguna prevails. In 14th chapter, Krishna says, Rajoguna results into misery. Misery is dissatisfaction. Feeling anxiety, anxious, terrible, horrible, dissatisfied, irritated, agitated, distrust in the system. All these things, how they come? Rajoguna. Right? And Rajogun means attachment to material desire. It should happen like this only. This is that material desire. This is attachment. If it happens, it's good. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. Right? No, it should happen like this. This attachment, that it has to happen like this only. This is attachment to desire. We can desire, always we can desire. Oh, if it rains, how nice it will be. If it's not raining, it's so hot. Oh, I'll put my hand on my head and become morose. That is attachment. That is attachment. So, and when this further increases, Rajogun leads to Tamogun. Then it goes to Moha. Moha means delusion. Right? It goes to Moha, delusion. So now Lord Krishna is saying, in this miserable world, there is a chance to be happy. What is that chance? Now we can read from Karna Muni. Karna Muni is these 3 verses of his departure, right? Sorry. Excuse me. So Karna Muni's these 3 verses previous, 42, 43, 44, exactly explanation of the principles of Bhagavad Gita, how he implemented in his personal life. And in previous 2 verses, we are seeing the sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? First instance. Second instance, next verse. He fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman, who is beyond the cause and effect. So, and now in this verse, in this way, now this verse, how it starts? Thus. Thus means conclusion of previous 2 verses. Thus he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity. And that is how he was able to stay calm as an ocean. Right? Now this is explained by Lord Krishna in 5th chapter. This this flow of Karna Muni's practice. In 5th chapter says, there are three things Lord Krishna is telling. The chapter's title is Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. This is a practical explanation of 4th chapter is Jnana Yoga. In 4th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena, surrender to bona fide spiritual master. Isn't it? Pariprasthena Sevya, and he will give you transcendental knowledge. That we are well familiar. And then he glorifies the transcendental knowledge. And then 5th chapter starts. In 5th chapter, title is Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. In 4th chapter, the principle of devotional service was explained. Right? Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havi, Brahma Agna, Brahmana Hutam. Do everything for Brahman. Do everything for Krishna. In this way, all your activities will become transcendental and you will attain the supreme transcendental abode. How it has to be done is explained in 5th chapter. Practical action. Right? That's why this chapter is titled as Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. And 4th chapter was Jnana Yoga. So he gives knowledge and then practical application of that knowledge. Like that. So, such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects. but is always in trance. Next, enjoying the pleasure within. So he withdraws himself from external objects, attachment to external objects, and where is his focus? His focus is within. Right? This is what exactly Kardama Muni was doing. Right? Without association, he travelled over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter, and then he fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of God Brahman, who is beyond the cause and effect. Okay. Now, here in the today's verse, his mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, right? Like an ocean unagitated by waves. So he gave up all material attachment, material connection, and his mind was turned inwards. This is what Lord Krishna is telling. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Right? So this verse summarizes these three verses of Kardama Muni. Now we are discussing this material world is dukkhalayam, miserable world. But here Lord Krishna says one can enjoy unlimited happiness by doing two things: disconnecting from the material desires, material objects, and connecting with the Supreme. Right? So detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna, that is the key. Now further Lord says, 23rd verse, before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and is happy in this world. In this dukkhalayam, this is the way to be happy. What is the secret of happiness? What materialistic people say? You fulfill this desire. You don't have money to fulfill desire, take loan, pay EMI, but fulfill this desire and be happy. Now Lord Krishna is telling here, before giving up this present body, one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the forces of desire and anger. Then he is yogi and he is happy. So the whole principle of happiness in Bhagavad Gita is totally opposite to what people think. In general, what will make me happy? Here Krishna is saying, tolerance will make you happy, not fighting for justice. Correct? Not fighting for justice, not fulfilling desire. Unless it happens my way, I will not be satisfied. I will revolt, I'll quarrel, I'll argue, I'll debate, I'll fight. But even if it gets fulfilled eventually by fighting, we feel a sense of achievement. I won the battle. Right? But again, Maya Devi is going to put another bigger, stronger battle. And not every time it will be sanctioned by Lord to fulfill. Then comes disturbance. Right? And this is Rajogun. If disturbance increases, it leads to Tamogun. Tamogun means then devastation happens. See, I'll give one example. How this Rajogun, Tamogun, Satugun, we can understand in practical action. Several years back, this Tamogun leads to moha, delusion. Tamogun leads to delusion. It leads to madness. How to understand this? Many years back, like now cricket season is always going on. And in India, cricket is a little, like they say, it's a religion. India, for people, it's a religion. So, and people worship cricketers. You'll see so many places, they erect their temples. And if they get a chance, they'll take autographs. They'll even touch the feet of cricketers. So many things keep happening. So anyway, many years back, India was playing in Cricket World Cup and India lost. Okay. In newspaper, the news came like this. Very interesting news. So there was one person in Punjab, he was owning a restaurant. So India was in the final match. So he announced, outside his restaurant, on the final match, when the final match is going on live, anybody who comes to my restaurant and cheers for India, there's a big TV in his restaurant, a big restaurant, and they can watch. Anybody who cheers for India, I will give him free snacks, free cold drinks, to celebrate and to, just cheer for India. So, restaurant was crowded. And then he made big propaganda and, had those dhol people and so many, every time India hits a six or India takes a wicket, like that, all this happening. So he was very thrilled about it. But eventually India lost. And the other opponents, they won the World Cup and India lost. Then he sent everybody out. He pulled down the shutter and to his fan, he hung himself and died. And next day it came in the newspaper. Because he became very popular on that day and people knew, okay, he's the one who died. So whole story came like that. Now, desire was India should win. And for that he was so attached. Right? But finally desire did not get fulfilled. Crores of people were watching. Okay, crores of people were watching. They also like Indian team. They are also Indian cricket fans. Some said, हार गई ठीक है. We'll go. हमको तो हमारा काम करना है. Isn't it? We have to go for job. We have to pay our taxes. We can't sit and be upset with this. This is satoguna. Little detachment is there. Some sense is there. And some people 3 days, 4 days, they are coming on TV and shouting. He did not play this shot properly. He did not play that shot properly. And so much of agitation. They're burning effigies of cricketers on the street. Haar gaye. They'll write the cricketer's name on that putla and burn. Put kerosene and burn. And mob will be surrounding and hooting. So all those things. This is Rajogun. You are so much affected. You are miserable. Satogun is, it's a part of game. हो गया चलो आगे जाना तो. Unaffected. Rajogun means affected. Tamogun means so severely affected you have lost the purpose of life. Isn't it? At least now those who lost the match, cricketers, the team, not bothered. They took their match fees. Night they had nice party, enjoyed. Foreign tour bhi ho gaya. They came back home and they're continuing to play even today. You have wasted your precious life. Correct? Moroseness, sadness is a part of Rajogun, understood. After 2-3 days, everybody got back to their lives. Everybody is going, working 9 to 5, bosses are chastising and they're doing, okay, chal go. Life continue. But for those who took such a drastic step, right, this is called madness. So much affected by Rajogun that it converts into Kama Esha Krodesha Rajogun Samabhava. Mahashano Mahapapma. Mahashano means all devouring. This is how Rajogun converts into Tamogun and devours everything. That anger, that anguish, that frustration that leads to this. So, in the first step itself, now the ocean analogy is given. And now Krishna is telling, Shaknoti Yehevu Sodum Prak Sharira Vimokshana. Isn't it? Kama Krodot Bhavam Vekam Sa Yukta Sa Sukhi Nara. So Lord Krishna is telling, one who is able to tolerate these urges, he is a yogi and he can be happy. Right? If somebody wants to fulfill these urges will go on increasing like a blazing fire and they will devour the desiring person. The person who is desiring, the desirer, these desires will devour that person. So in the same way in our devotional life, if we get disturbed because our desires are not getting fulfilled, then immediately Bhagavad Gita gives a check. Here Krishna is saying unlimited happiness. In second chapter is saying he attains peace. Right? Here is saying he attains unlimited happiness. Then further, going beyond that Shaknotish verse, Lord Krishna says, 24th verse, one whose happiness is within. This chapter is titled as Krishna Consciousness, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So, in Krishna Consciousness, one's happiness is within. One whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within. So, what was Kardama Muni doing within? His He fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond cause and effect. Right? So, our test for attachment, for what reason I am becoming morose? This is the test. For what reason I am becoming upset? Because I am forgetting Krishna, that's why I am becoming upset? Or because my material desires are not getting fulfilled, that's why I am becoming upset? This is the test. I am becoming upset because I am not doing my service properly, so I should do. I am becoming upset because I am not doing Vaishnava behavior properly, then okay. No, I am becoming upset because I didn't get my choice of thing. I am becoming upset because I didn't get my desires fulfilled. So this is the difference of knowing what makes us upset. If I am upset that I am not able to focus on Krishna, if I am upset that I am not able to constantly remember Krishna, that is a lamentation a devotee has. And we see Acharya saying, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, that I don't have even a trace of devotion for Krishna. That is his lamentation. So this is the cause. This should be the cause of lamentation. That is what here Karda Muni's example we see. He fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So within, he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. He was not meditating on fulfilling the desires. That's how he attained what we are discussing in today's verse. He gradually became unaffected by false ego of material identity. Even if sometimes material desires get fulfilled, we feel happy. Right? It gives us a kind of false ego. Right? The sense of achievement. It gives us a kind of false ego or sense of achievement. That yes, this is the way of happiness. This is the danger in devotional life. When does not get things what he desires, he learns to tolerate and depend on Krishna. There's so many times Prabhupada uses the word Lord willing, Krishna willing. If you read Bhagavatam, Lord willing, this will happen. If you read Prabhupada letters also, Lord willing, this will happen. So why Prabhupada says this? We are not attached to this will happen or this will not happen. Our endeavor should be to make it happen. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Ma manusmara yuddhacha, but depend upon me. So Arjuna, that does not mean Arjuna will not fight properly. Arjuna will fight. When Arjuna has to shoot arrow, he will aim properly. He will invoke the proper mantra on that weapon. He will aim. He will stretch his bow. He will shoot the bow, shoot the arrow. Everything he will do to his most meticulous way he can. But if the enemy is not killed, right, that should not be the cause of lamentation. Till stretching the bow, shooting the arrow, aiming at the enemy, it's in our hands. But even hitting the enemy was in Arjuna's hand. But Bhishma did not die. Right? Bhishma did not die. Dronacharya did not die through Arjuna's hands. Right? So that does not make Arjuna morose. That is where after this, Lord willing, it will happen. Lord does not will, it will not happen. Right? But from my side, my anxiety should be whether I have done best for Krishna or not. My anxiety should not be whether I am getting what I want or not. So this is the difference of ocean being flooded by rivers. Thoughts will keep on coming because of our material affliction. 3 modes are there. Sattvic mode and Sattva will generate sattvic desires. Rajogun will generate rajasic desires. Tamogun will generate tamasic desires. Desires will keep coming. No problem. How much are we disturbed by these? That is the test that Lord Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. So he says, one experiences unlimited happiness and his happiness is within. In my heart of the heart, am I able to concentrate on Krishna? Am I constantly able to think about Krishna? Am I able to serve Krishna to my best capacity? These are the lamentations of a devotee. These are the hankerings of a devotee. Right? Otherwise, we will always think devotional service means if I get all these things and I do my service nicely. Right? In this whole service, when we see what Lord Krishna is asking for in the service. Just one last verse we will discuss. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. Two things Lord Krishna is saying very clearly. Do your duty of fighting and think of me. Okay. Only Krishna has limited action to doing duty. Krishna is not talking about result. This is the difference. Do your duty, prescribed duty of fighting. Why? Because Lord Krishna says in second chapter, Karmanyavadi Karasti says, result is in Krishna's hands. Result does not belong to us. What belongs to us is doing our duty. Right? Second, this is first part of the verse. Second part is, with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. This second part which Lord Krishna demands. First is remember me and do your duty. Second is mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. So fixing mind and intelligence, this is the requirement that Krishna has placed before us. Krishna says this is a requirement of devotional service. Fixing mind and intelligence on Krishna. This should be the anxiety of a devotee. These thoughts should, trigger an action in us. Oh, whether my mind is fixed on Krishna or not. So then we'll attain this stage. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm like an ocean, unagitated by waves. So we'll stop here. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.